Hey guys, welcome to my tutorial on how to take your data and put it into an Excel spreadsheet so that you can eventually get a graph out of it. Notice that I am using Microsoft Excel 2007. If you have an older version, just the location might look a little bit different as I'm going through the button clicks, but it should be pretty easy for you to find. So what I want to show you is that I already have in all of my data from my sugar in soda lab. So I have my density of my solution and I have my percent sucrose solution by mass. In this first column, I want to put in the numbers that are going to be on my X, and on the second column, those are the numbers that are going to be on my Y. So in order to make my graph, I need to select the data that I am hoping to graph. So I'm going to select all of that data, and because of my version of Excel, if I go to Insert, I have the option to insert a scatter plot. You do want to do a scatter plot. And notice that I have a bunch of different options under that. We do not want to connect the dots. We just want to put points or markers onto our graph. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And immediately you'll see that it has pulled a graph in for me so that I can see what my data looks like graphically. So I can make it bigger and I can kind of spread it out. One of the problems that you will see is that first of all, there's all this blank space down here. This is really not necessary. So what I can do is I can actually click onto my x-axis, and when I right click, I have the option of format. I can tell Excel how large or how small I want my values to be. I don't need to go all the way to 0 since my smallest number is just under 1. So maybe I want to go a fixed value of maybe 0.95. And I think that's going to give me a little bit better spread. So if I click close, you can see now that all my data has spread out. I can really see the pattern a little bit better. I could also do the same thing with my y-axis if I felt it was necessary, but I think this has a pretty nice spread so far, so I'm not going to make any changes. Some other things that I want to do, if you'll notice, I don't have any labels, which is not acceptable. So for my particular version, I actually have some chart tools up here, so I can go to my layout and I can label my axes. So I can go for my horizontal. I'm going to put my title below the axis. I can then click on this. I can move it around. I can change what it says. So I know on the bottom this is density. So I'm going to type in density. I also want to make sure I include the unit, which is grams per milliliter. And that looks great. Okay. Notice that my Y, same problem. So I can go up here to my axes. Now I'm going to go vertical, and I want it rotated so that I can read it sideways. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to change it, and this is actually my percent sucrose by mass, and I am going to put in that I'm reading it in percent as my unit. So now my graph is looking a little bit better. I actually don't need this label over here, so I'm going to get rid of it because I already have labeled my X and Y axis. So I can just delete it. I can also change my chart title. So it is percent sucrose solution by mass, but I want to say that that's also versus density. I'm going to put that in as density. So now I've got this really nice looking graph. I can move this over. I can kind of make it bigger if I think it would be better bigger. It's kind of up to you what you like. The last thing I want to do is I actually want to add a trend line onto this graph, which is going to show me kind of an average. So all I have to do is float my cursor over one of the points, it doesn't matter which one, and then right click. You'll get a bunch of options now. One of them is add trend line. I'm going to add a trend line. And notice that all of a sudden I got all of these different options. This one is pretty linear. I just want to see what the general pattern is. So I have chosen linear as my option. Then the other thing I want to do is down here at the bottom, I want to make sure I display the equation of my chart. And I also want an R squared value. That's going to tell me how close my points are to that trend line or my line of best fit. The closer the R squared value is to 1, the better the fit. So here we're at about 0.7552. Not great, but it's the data that we have, so we're going to go ahead and use it. Then I'm going to go ahead and close that out. It's kind of hard to see this here, so I can move it up Over here, I could also change it and I could do a fill on here if I thought that perhaps it would be nice to maybe like highlight it in some orange or something so that it stood out. You can see that my graph looks really great. I have this nice line of best fit, which shows a really good average. And that way, when I go to do my experiment with my soda, once I find the percent by mass, I can trace over down to density. If I found the density, I could trace up to where it hits the line and trace over to its percent mass by sucrose. So at this point, I have this really great looking graph. And I also have my data right above it. So I can print this on one page and have both a data table and the graph all in one spot. If you're looking to do this on another version of Excel, it's very, very similar. Some of the clicks may be located in different areas, but the general pattern is the same. All right, good luck, and let me know if you have any questions on graphing with Excel. Thanks.